What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Clams. I'm Will. I am currently driving down into Key West from up the Keys a little bit, and we are headed to one of Key West. I wouldn't even call it a secret, but maybe an unknown. But there's this amazing place called Key West Cakes, and you can get cupcakes, birthday cakes, all that stuff. But there is one thing that they do on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock. They make chicken pot pie. So we are going to go down there and get a chicken pot pie. And the reason why is because I want to taste it, see if I can kind of nail what the flavors are and everything. Because Aaron's out on the boat shooting grouper. They got one. And I am going to head down there, grab the grouper, grab the head, grab the collars, and we are going to make grouper pot pie. So let's first head to Key West Cakes.
You want to do it like that?
Got the goods. So I don't know if you noticed in there's only 7 pies. They sell out of them. So I was the first one there today, but I've definitely gotten there before where walk in the door and there's nothing left. But they go in the oven. They usually come out about 4:30. So if you're gonna go, get there early. That is still incredibly hot. Okay, we're going in. Okay, I see peas, carrots. We can do this. We can do this with the grouper head. I'm gonna add some things to mine, but we can definitely do this. Their crust, though. Amazing. All right, I'm gonna eat a little more than this. Aaron should be back at the boat ramp. Let's go get our grouper head and start our grouper pot pie. Yeah. So big thanks to Miles here for shooting the black grouper, because we are going to harvest the head off of that and make some grouper head pot pies. Thank you, Miles.
Hey, no problem.
You know, luckily this is a grouper, because if you're trying to get a rack to make stock, Dibs doesn't leave any freaking meat on the...
Yes, I did. There's plenty of meat. Look at all that.
Oh, okay, in the tail. There we go.
Got some in the cheeks.
You gotta find somebody with worse knife skills to make a really dense stock. Let me cut this side.
Okay.
And there it is. Our head and rack. Oh, nice job.
Stick that in your pocket. Just throw it over your shoulder. Carry it home.
So I have never made a pie crust before, so we're going to take this adventure together. So I have here 2.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of salt. Mix that all together. And then from what I understand, I mean, it's only really 4 ingredients, and the trick is to work with everything very cold. So right now I have my butter and my shortening, believe it or not, in the freezer, trying to get it as cold as possible. So we'll pull that out and then mix that in. All right, we have our butter cubed, and this was 6 tablespoons of butter. And then we have our shortening. We cut that into cubes as well. I don't know, I feel like it could have been colder. Still feels a little mushy. But all right, so fold that in. And I think there's something called like a pastry cutter that would make this a lot easier, but what we're looking for is about pea-sized pieces of butter and shortening without overworking the dough. Let's try this. Might be easier. Yep, that's easier. Like I said, this is the adventure, guys. You're in it. We're experiencing it together. But the idea is that you want these little pieces throughout the dough so that when it goes into the oven, these bake the little pea-sized pieces of butter and shortening. They bake and give you those nice flaky layers. So it's almost cooking the dough from the inside out. So after we get this to where we want it, we're going to mix in about a cup and a half of water. All right. I have switched to my hands. Okay, now for the water. I got a half a cup with ice cubes in it to get it really chilled down. And we do just a couple of tablespoons at a time. Actually gonna try to pour this. Okay, I think this is what we're looking for. Looks good to me. Looks like pie crust. So we're going to divide this into half, cover it up, and throw it in the fridge for at least 2 hours. But you can see the chunks of butter in there. I think we're looking good. Yeah. All right. I'm happy with that. All right, we're going to wrap this up, throw it into the fridge. Like I said, 2 hours, and I'm going to get started on the filling. So we are going to use the head to make stock. We're going to fill the pie. The meat is going to come from the collars. So to go along with our filling, we're going to do celery, carrots, and then I have frozen peas. We're going to chop everything up. I'm only going to do one stalk of celery because that can actually be pretty overpowering. Now we're also going to make gravy. So we're going to make the collars and the filling first, which is going to be really easy. We're basically just going to boil these with the collars, pick all the meat, put that aside. Then we're going to make the stock, and the stock we are going to use to make the gravy. So the gravy, we need at least half an onion here and some garlic. Now also for our gravy, I have here fresh thyme. And we'll pick a couple of sprigs of that, and that's also going into our stock as well. But the ones going into the stock I won't bother picking. It's nice when they got these big old thick stems because then you can just grab a hold and there you go. So I have my collar separated from the head and rack, our celery and carrots all going in. We're going to throw a lid on this, let it cook maybe about 15 minutes, and then pick all the meat, take the carrots and celery out, set them aside, and let them cool down completely. Okay, to the water that we were using to steam the collars and the veg, we're going to put in our grouper head. I have here garlic, onion, skins on, celery, carrot, our rack all broken up, and also the head. As you can see, I took out the gills. So I'm going to throw all that in, and a couple of bay leaves, and last but not least, some salt. We're going to bring that up to a boil, down to a simmer, and let it ride for 2 hours. At that point, our dough will be ready to roll out. I almost forgot a bit of our thyme, including the stems from the ones that we picked for the gravy. While our stock is going, we can pick our collars. And that is, I say it every single time, the amount of meat on there is pretty insane. And it's also okay if you get towards the center and it's not fully cooked through, because we're adding it to the pie, which is going to go into the oven later for at least 30 minutes. So it will cook through. Once I pick the rest of this, all of this is going into the fridge to completely cool down. Look at that. That's amazing. And before anyone even asks, yes, as it's cooking, I'm going to go into the pot and pull the cheeks off of the head and add it to this pile, because I know someone's going to ask. Don't you worry. So here you go. I just went back in and pulled the cheek meat out. This one's still a little rare. I might dunk that back in the broth and then pull it out again. But don't worry, we got the cheeks. Okay, now we're going to make our gravy or roux, but it's basically going to be what holds everything together on the inside. I strained our stock, which I have over here, which is absolutely gorgeous. Grouper heads just give you the best stock. There's so much fat in them. It's absolutely amazing. So I add our onion and garlic. We're going to add a little bit of salt to help sweat it down. And we're cooking this medium low. We don't want to brown it. We just want to get some of the moisture out. Take about 3 minutes. Okay, to our onions and garlic, I'm going to add, this is a bit of sage. This is mostly garlic at this point. Bit of black pepper, our fresh thyme, and then some butter. Once that butter is melted, we're going to add the same amount of flour to make our roux. We're going to let this cook for about a minute to cook off some of that flour, and then we'll add a bit of our stock. Now, one last thing we're going to add to this is a little bit of cream, some half and half. We're going to let this simmer probably about 5-10 minutes until it's a nice consistency, not too thick, not too thin, somewhere right in between, so that when we put it into the pie, it actually holds its body. But you want it about the consistency of, like, if you've ever had biscuits and gravy, that gravy. All right, we're looking good here. And if you can tell from the camera what I mean, so not too thick, not too thin, pretty much sausage gravy. And right now you give it a taste, see if it needs any seasoning. I might actually add some dried herbs to this to really give it nice chicken pot pie flavor. So I'm going to add probably a little more dried thyme and a little bit of dried parsley. right, let's roll out our dough. Okay, this looks good. Think. I don't know. We'll see. We might need just a smidge more water in there because it seems to be a little too crumbly, but let's see. What I'm gonna do is wet my hands and work it in there because it just seems to be a little bit too crumbly. So let's do that. Because I don't want to add really too much more water. Like I said, I've never made a pie dough before, so I can't say I even know what the texture is supposed to be. But this feels better. Still not sticking to my hands. Okay. Clean up our surface. Try again. That looks better. I don't know. I'm used to working with pizza dough. Oh, that's much better. All right. And from what I understand, we want to roll this out pretty darn thin. Got some crack in there, but not too bad. I told you guys you were coming along on this adventure. We're gonna figure this out together. All right, I think that's it. That should fit in here, right? Yeah. Right? I don't know. We'll worry about this when we get there. We're not sticking, okay? All right, so now we're supposed to roll this onto here, like so. Then, like that. All right, we're just gonna move it over a little bit so that that tear isn't there. Oh yeah. Guys, I don't know if you know this, I'm a baker now. Okay. We cut off the excess, right? Okay, now the way I'm going to do this is first our fish and carrots, and then our gravy is going to go on top. So as it bakes, it's going to kind of sift down into our other things here. And we can't forget we got our frozen peas. Put a healthy amount of those in. All right, that looks good. I'm going to put this back in the fridge, and we're going to roll out the top. This is all giving our gravy a chance to cool down as well, so that when we put it on, it doesn't mess up any of our dough. And I'm going to get the oven up to 425. One of the other things I'm going to get ready real quick is the egg wash for on top of the pot pie. So we're just going to scramble up an egg, and then we'll brush that on top before it goes in the oven. Give it that nice, beautiful brown crust. Okay, before we roll out the top crust, now that it's cooled down, we're going to add our filler gravy. Because once I roll that out, I want to be able to put it straight on top and get it into the oven right away. We'll put this back in the fridge, roll out the other dough, and then we're ready to go. Okay. Okay, now we got to crimp it. First we got to cut it, right? Yep. Again, if you're watching this and you see me doing something wrong, just remember, definitely my first ever pie crust. So I am sure I am doing plenty wrong as far as the pie itself goes, but I don't know. I feel pretty good about this so far. I mean, that looks like a pie to me. I'll put a couple of slits. Then our egg wash. I don't have a brush to do this, so the back of the fork is gonna have to suffice. All right, we're going into the oven. At about 20 minutes, I'm gonna give it a check, and then we might have to throw some tin foil on top just so that we don't burn our crust. But we want the crust golden brown. Then once it's golden brown, we're gonna go about 10 minutes from there. So I'm thinking probably about half an hour total. Give or take, a little bit more, a little bit less. We'll see. We'll watch what the crust is doing. I'm going to give a check and see where our top is at. That looks pretty good. I'm going to let it go a couple of more minutes, and then I'm going to throw the tin foil on and let it finish cooking completely. Ready to come out of the oven. It was in there for about 35 minutes total. Wait until you see this. Wait until you see this. Now, if that is not a thing of beauty, I don't know what is. All right. Now, I was also told that with a glass pan, you can kind of see on the sides if you've cooked, because you can see that it's turning brown. So that's very helpful. But yeah, we're gonna let this rest for about 10 minutes because it is way too hot. If we cut into that, it's gonna fall apart. So we want it to kind of settle back into itself, and then we'll serve it up. So as always, we gotta do, wait, let me get this thing in the sunlight. Look at this. Oh. This, I am proud of this one. I am very, very proud. That looks good. We let it rest. Really what I would like to do, but we're hungry, is put it into the fridge and let it cool completely overnight. And that way everything would kind of really form together. But we'll see if everything holds together. That crust looks good. Oh, guys. Oh, yeah. That is beautifully, beautifully moist inside. Oh, and it smells so good. It smells so good. Yes, it smells like fish, but in a great way, meaning it almost smells kind of like fish chowder. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. This, I can't even explain the smell. It is so good. So good. All right. Let me grab some people to eat with. Oh my goodness. Let's eat. What did you just say?
This looks stupid. It looks ridiculous. It looks like legit.
I am so excited about that crust. I
Yeah.
can't even believe that it came out okay.
This looks like grandma's southern cooking.
All right. You know who's missing out? Who actually shot the grouper is Miles.
Wow. Poor
Aw.
Miles.
All right.
My mouth is legit watering.
It's a 10 for presentation. It looks like a Popeye.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. This crust looks amazing.
It tastes like a Popeye.
Oh!
Which just doesn't make sense.
So
Whoa.
I would almost do more of the gravy.
Oh, well, I mean, that's always the answer.
Yeah.
More gravy's never been not an option.
Mm. Yeah, well, the homemade crust wins it for me.
But you don't want too much. It's balanced. It's not the
No,
the crust is there.
I just had a bite with more peas and everything in it. And
Wow.
you're right.
Mm.
And it
pretty-
doesn't.
It's pretty rocking.
It tastes like fish, and not in an offensive way.
No.
Like,
Yeah, definitely. This is like,
Not so much though that I feel like if you served it to someone and didn't tell them, they would be like, "What's different?" But I don't know if they would figure it out.
they'd be like, "I think your chicken went bad."
This tastes like salmonella.
this crust.
The
Wow.
crust is so good.
I'm so glad
I was
you
so
went through it.
worried. I was so worried about the crust because I've never made one, and it was like, well, we'll leave it in the hands of the powers that be. But it worked out well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everything's so
Pretty
good.
darn good.
And again, I don't know if you could do this with something other than grouper because grouper has so much fat in it. I mean, the pieces of grouper aren't overcooked. That got steamed, put in there, and then put in the oven for almost 40 minutes. And the grouper still has a nice
Moist
texture.
and good and
Yeah.
Wow. Just looks fake.
like legit.
All right. That was also worth all the time that it took.
I was just about to say that. Thank you so much for putting all this time into
Taste
this.
the
This is
pain.
amazing. Yeah, we taste the pain and the cursing,
I heard the pain.
especially for the crust.
Ooh. The crust in the back,
Oh yeah.
like the actual. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is legit crust.
Okay.
Pretty rockin'.
All right. We will. You know what? We could just sit here and keep nodding our heads. I got about 10 more minutes of footage left. So.
There you go. There you go.
But this was a win, and if you try it, you got to use that head meat, cheek meat, collar meat. It's the only thing that would hold up. If you did this with fish fillet, it would turn into chalk. There's no way, unless you had a really oily, fatty fish, but like cod or something maybe.
Yeah.
But this is once again the scraps of a fish that would get thrown into the water, thrown away. Well, not in this house, but other houses. Turned into something that could feed probably 3 more of us.
Oh yeah.
Because this is also going to sit nice and heavy.
I have no
I'll
doubt.
be getting a second slice, but yes, definitely.
Well, all right, guys. Thanks for coming along on this adventure, and it was an adventure making that pie dough. I will see you on the next one.